Minjun died at exactly 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday. Not literally. His body kept breathing, kept scrolling, kept existing in the worst possible way, alive enough to feel everything breaking inside him, while his phone screen glowed with proof that some people got to be happy. Jihoon looked good in his wedding photo. Too good. The kind of good that made my chest feel like someone had reached in and squeezed until something vital popped. He had his arm around Sungho, my former best friend, my former person, and they were smiling like they'd invented joy. I should have been numb to it by now. Should have deleted Instagram 6 months ago when Sungho first posted a candid coffee date photo that was anything but candid. Should have done a lot of things differently. Instead, I was lying in my shoebox apartment in Itaewon at midnight, doom scrolling through their honeymoon photos like some kind of emotional masochist, when my phone started burning. Not warm, not hot, burning. The screen went white, not blank, but white, like someone had shoved the sun into a piece of glass, and heat exploded from the device into my hands. I dropped it with a yelp that would have been embarrassing if anyone had been around to hear it, but the light didn't stop. It poured out of my phone like liquid, spreading across my bed in waves that swallowed my unmade sheets and climbed up my arms like something alive. What the? The temperature plummeted so fast my breath came out in visible clouds. My tiny apartment, already freezing because I'd been too broke to run the heater, turned arctic in seconds. Ice crystals formed on my window. The light was inside me now, behind my eyes and in my lungs, pulling me apart molecule by molecule. I tried to scream, but I couldn't breathe because my body wasn't solid anymore. Wasn't anything except this terrible sensation of falling through ice water that burned instead of froze. Then I heard it, a whisper that wasn't, a voice wasn't sound, wasn't anything except pure knowing shoved directly into my brain. You're finally here. And everything stopped. The silence hit me like a physical blow. My eyes snapped open, and I immediately knew three things. One, I wasn't in my apartment. Two, I wasn't alone. Three, I was about to lose my absolute mind. The bed beneath me was enormous, easily big enough for 5 people, with sheets that felt like actual silk against my skin, and pillows so soft they should have been illegal. Above me, the ceiling wasn't water-stained drywall, but smooth stone, ancient-looking and lit by a fireplace large enough to stand in. A fireplace, with actual flames. I sat up fast enough to make my head spin, and that's when I saw them. 3 men, sitting in chairs arranged around the bed like they'd been waiting. My brain tried to process what I was seeing and immediately gave up. Because these weren't just men. These were, I don't know, apex, predators in human form. The kind of beautiful that felt dangerous. The kind of presence that made the air itself feel thicker. The one in the center spoke first, his voice low and careful, like he was afraid I'd bolt. Easy. The crossing takes a toll. You've been unconscious for almost 2 hours. Crossing. The word came out flat. Right, sure. That's definitely a normal thing to say to someone who just woke up in a stranger's bed. The man on the left, younger, with sharp features and eyes that reflected the firelight in a way that was absolutely not natural, smiled slightly. You're funny. The prophecy didn't mention that. Oh, good prophecy, I said, my voice climbing toward hysteria. That's the second time someone said that word like it means something. Where the hell am I? Who are you, and why do your eyes look like... I gestured vaguely at all three of them. That? You're in Seoul, the man on the right said. His voice was gentler than the others, but somehow that made it worse. The old Seoul, the one that exists beneath the city, you know. And where? Let me guess, I interrupted, swinging my legs off the bed, even though my entire body felt like I'd been hit by a truck. Alpha kings, dragons, vampires? Because I swear to God, if this is some kind of elaborate kidnapping scheme, I'm broke. Like aggressively broke. You'll get maybe 3,001 and half a convenience store kimbap out of me. The center one, clearly the leader based on the way the other two deferred to him with subtle glances, stood up, and up, and up. He had to be over 6 feet of solid muscle, wearing clothes that looked like modern Korean fashion mixed with something older, something that screamed royalty. We're not going to hurt you, Minjun, he said. I froze. How do you know my name? We've been dreaming about you for 3 years. The younger one nodded. Your face, your voice, your name. The prophecy said you'd come when the time was right. When we needed you most, the gentle-voiced one added. I stared at them, all three of them. These impossible, beautiful, insane men who apparently thought I was, what? Their prophesied soulmate? Their ticket to some fantasy kingdom drama? This isn't real, I said, more to myself than to them. I'm having a psychotic break. I'm in a hospital somewhere, having a massive psychotic break, because I spent my entire night stalking my ex, and my brain finally just gave up. This is real. The leader took a step toward me, and I saw the weapons. Multiple weapons. A sword at his hip, knives at his thighs. He was dressed for war, and his eyes, those impossible golden eyes, were looking at me like I was something precious he'd finally found after years of searching. You were called here, Minjun, pulled across the void between our worlds, because you're needed. He paused, and something in his expression shifted. Softer, almost vulnerable. Because you're ours. I'm not anyone's, I snapped, and felt a spike of satisfaction when surprise flickered across the leader's face. He blinked once, slow and deliberate, like he was recalibrating. Then his mouth curved into something that wasn't quite a smile but was definitely amused. You've got fire, he said. Good. You'll need it. What I need, I said, standing up even though my legs felt like overcooked noodles, is to go home, right now. I don't care about your prophecy or your dreams or whatever collective delusion you've constructed. I want to leave. The gentle-voiced one, sitting perfectly still in his chair like some kind of statue, spoke softly. You can't leave yet. The portal won't reopen for at least 3 days. I laughed, actually laughed, sharp and bitter. Portal, right, because that's a normal sentence. It's unpredictable, the younger one added, leaning forward with his elbows on his knees. His eyes were still doing that weird, reflective thing, like a cat's in headlights. Even when it opens again, there's no guarantee it'll be stable. But you're safe here, I promise. Safe, I repeated slowly. I woke up in a bed with 3 armed strangers who claim they've been dreaming about me. That's literally the opposite of safe. The leader took another step closer, and I noticed details I'd missed in my initial panic. The sword at his hip wasn't decorative. It was worn. The leather grip darkened from use. His hands were scarred. This man had fought things, hurt things, maybe killed things, and he was looking at me like I was made of glass. I'm Kang Doyen, he said, his voice dropping into something formal. Alpha King of the Northern Packs, keeper of the old bloodlines. He gestured to the one on the left. This is Choi Seojun, Alpha King of the Eastern Packs. Seojun, the younger one with the sharp features, raised 2 fingers in a lazy wave. Hey, and this, Doyen continued, nodding to the gentle-voiced man, is Park Minho, Alpha King of the Southern Packs. Minho inclined his head slightly, his expression unreadable. 3 kings, I said flatly. Fantastic. And I'm supposed to be what, exactly? Your shared property? Our mate, Doyen corrected. There's a difference. Is there? I wrapped my arms around myself, suddenly aware that I was still wearing my sleep clothes, an oversized sweatshirt and joggers that had seen better days. Because from where I'm standing, it sounds like you think you own me. We don't own you. Minho's voice was still soft, but there was steel underneath it. The bond doesn't work that way. It's not possession. It's recognition. Recognition, I echoed. Of what? Of the fact that you're the missing piece, Seojun said, standing up in one fluid motion. He moved like water, all grace and controlled power. The prophecy was clear. 3 kings, 1 mate. Together, we're strong enough to hold the kingdom. Apart, he trailed off, something dark crossing his expression. Apart, we fall. My brain was trying very hard to process this and failing spectacularly. You're saying your entire kingdom's stability depends on me? Someone you've never met? Yes, all 3 of them said in unison. I stared at them. That's the dumbest political system I've ever heard of. Doyen's mouth twitched like he was fighting a smile. I don't disagree, but it's the system we have. And if I refuse, I asked, if I just wait 3 days and go home when this portal thing opens again? Silence, heavy and loaded. Finally, Minho spoke. Then we'll probably die at the lunar gathering next week, and the kingdom will tear itself apart in the civil war that follows. That's not emotional manipulation at all, I muttered. It's the truth. Doyen's voice was steady, matter of fact. 3 years ago, the previous generation of kings was murdered. All of them, same night, coordinated attack. We took the throne younger than any kings in 5 generations. Half the packs think we're too weak to hold power. They're planning to challenge us publicly. And if we fall, he paused, thousands die, maybe tens of thousands. The weight of those words settled in my chest like a stone. I wanted to tell him it wasn't my problem, that I didn't ask to be pulled into some fantasy kingdom drama. But the way he was looking at me, not pleading, just resigned, made the words stick in my throat. Why me? I asked instead. What's so special about me that I'm supposedly the answer to all your problems? We don't know, Seojin admitted. The prophecy didn't exactly come with an instruction manual. It just showed us your face and said you'd be pulled from your world into ours when the time was right. And you think now is the right time? When I gestured vaguely at myself. This? What's wrong with this? Minho asked, genuinely curious. I'm 23 years old, I said. I just watched my ex-boyfriend marry my best friend. I'm a failed art student working at a convenience store because my degree is worthless. I can't even afford to heat my apartment. I'm not exactly prime savior material. You're our mate, Doyen said simply. That's all that matters. That's insane. Maybe. He moved closer, and I should have stepped back, should have maintained distance, but I didn't. But you felt it, didn't you? When you woke up, the pull. I wanted to lie, wanted to tell him I felt nothing. But the truth was, the moment I'd opened my eyes and seen them, something in my chest had recognized them. Some bone-deep awareness I'd never experienced before. Not with Jihoon, not with anyone. My body knew them, even though my brain was screaming that this was impossible. That's just adrenaline, I said weakly. Is it? Seojun was suddenly closer, moving into my space with that water-smooth grace. Because your scent says otherwise. My what? Your scent, Minho repeated gently. It's changing, responding to us. And that's when I smelled it. Something in the air that hadn't been there before. Warm and sweet and mine. Mixing with 3 distinct scents that I somehow knew belonged to them. Doyen smelled like cedar and smoke. Seojun like rain and steel. Minho like honey and old books. This isn't real, I whispered. It is, Doyen said. And I know how insane that sounds. But you're here. You're finally here. I took a step back, needing space, needing air. Stop saying that like it means something. It means everything, Doyen said quietly. No. I shook my head, hard enough to make my vision blur. It means I'm trapped in some kind of mass hallucination, and you're all feeding into it. Scents don't just appear. People don't get pulled through portals. And 3 random men don't just decide someone they've never met is their destined soulmate. We're not random, Seojin pointed out, his tone almost playful despite the tension crackling through the room. We're kings. There's a difference. Oh, excuse me. 3 random kings. I laughed, but it came out jagged. That makes it so much better. Minho stood up slowly, like he was approaching a spooked animal. You're scared. That's understandable. Everything you knew about reality just got turned upside down. But we're not your enemy, Minjun. Then what are you? Yours, all 3 of them said again, perfectly synchronized. A shiver ran down my spine that had nothing to do with the cold. Stop doing that. The creepy unison thing. Stop it. Doyen's mouth twitched. Noted. I pressed my palms against my eyes, trying to think through the fog of exhaustion and confusion, and that stupid, impossible pull I could feel tugging at my chest every time one of them moved. Okay, let's say, hypothetically, that I believe any of this is real, which I don't. But let's pretend. We're listening, Minho said. You said the portal won't open for 3 days. Correct. And you need me to, what? Stand next to you at some gathering and Look pretty so everyone thinks you're legitimate? Seojin snorted. You could definitely pull off pretty, but that's not exactly the job description. I shot him a look. What is the job description then? Be our mate, Doyen said simply. Let the bond solidify. Show the court that the old magic still favors our bloodline. Your presence alone is proof that we're meant to rule. That's insane. And that's politics. I dropped my hands and stared at him. At all of them. Three gorgeous, dangerous, completely unhinged men who apparently thought I was the answer to their kingdom's problems. And if I say no, if I just lock myself in this room for 3 days and wait for your portal to spit me back home? Doyen's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his golden eyes, something that looked like pain. Then we'll respect your choice. We won't force you to stay. But we'll probably die, Sojun added cheerfully. Just so you know, no pressure or anything. That's literally all pressure, I said. Minho moved closer, stopping just outside my personal space. He's exaggerating. We might not die. We'll just lose everything we've spent 3 years building. The peace between the packs, the stability, the hope that maybe we could actually hold this kingdom together. He paused. But you don't owe us anything. You didn't ask to be pulled here. This isn't your responsibility. Then why does it feel like it is? The words slipped out before I could stop them. Because the bond is already forming, Doyen said quietly. Whether you accept it or not, your body recognizes us. Your instincts know we're meant to protect you, provide for you, keep you safe. I don't need protecting. I lifted my chin. I've been taking care of myself just fine. Have you? Seojun's voice was softer now, less playful. Because you looked pretty miserable when you crossed over, scrolling through photos of people who hurt you, alone in the dark. My breath caught. How do you know that? The bond, Minho said. It shows us things sometimes. Fragments. Emotions. We felt your pain right before you arrived. Something hot and sharp twisted in my chest. Stay out of my head. We're not in your head, Doyen corrected. We just feel you, the way you feel us, whether you want to admit it or not. I opened my mouth to argue, then closed it. Because he was right. I could feel them, these three strangers who shouldn't mean anything to me. I could feel Doyen's steady determination, Seojin's restless energy, Minho's careful warmth. It was like they were broadcasting on some frequency I didn't know I could hear. And worse, my body was responding. The exhaustion from the crossing was fading, replaced by this buzzing awareness that made my skin feel too tight. This is insane, I said again, but my voice had lost its edge. I know. Doyen took one careful step forward. And I know we're asking too much. But we're out of options, Minjun. The lunar gathering is in 6 days. If we show up without our mate, the challenges will come. And we're strong, but we're not strong enough to fight off half the kingdom alone. Why not? I asked. You're 3 alpha kings. Isn't that supposed to be like peak predator status? It would be, Seojin said. If we were bonded, the mate bond doesn't just prove legitimacy, it amplifies our abilities, makes us faster, stronger, harder to kill. Without it, he shrugged, we're just 3 guys with fancy titles. 3 guys with swords, I pointed out. 3 guys with swords who are very politely begging you to help us not get murdered in front of our entire court, Minho said. I looked at each of them in turn. Doyen with his scarred hands and tired eyes. Seojin with his sharp grin that didn't quite hide the tension in his shoulders. Minho with his gentle voice and the way he kept his distance, like he was afraid of scaring me off. They were telling the truth. I could feel it through that stupid bond, pulsing in my chest like a second heartbeat. 3 days, I said finally. I'll stay for 3 days. I'll go to your gathering, stand where you tell me to stand, and play the part of your prophesied mate. But when that portal opens, I'm gone, and you don't get to guilt trip me about it. Relief flooded through the room, so thick I could almost taste it. 3 days, Doyen agreed. That's all we're asking. Thank you, Minho said softly. Seojin's grin turned genuine. You won't regret this. I already regret this, I muttered. But even as I said it, something in my chest settled. Like maybe, for the first time in months, I was exactly where I was supposed to be. even if that place was absolutely, completely, utterly insane. If you're hooked on Minjun's story, hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Trust me, things are about to get complicated. Now back to the chaos. So what now, I asked, breaking the silence that had settled over the room like a heavy blanket. Do I get a tutorial on how to be a fake prophesied mate, or are we winging this? Seojin laughed, the sound bright and unexpected. I like him. Can we keep him even after 3 days? Not helping, Doyen said, but there was warmth in his voice. Minho moved toward a chair near the fireplace and gestured for me to sit. You should rest. The crossing drains energy you don't even know you have. Most people sleep for a full day after. Most people? I stayed standing, arms crossed. How many people have accidentally time-traveled into your bed? You're the first, Doyen admitted. But we've studied the old texts. Crossing between worlds takes a physical toll. Great. So I'm your science experiment too. You're not an experiment. Minho's voice was patient, almost gentle. You're exhausted. I can feel it through the bond. Stop feeling things through the bond, I muttered. But even I could hear how my words were starting to slur at the edges. The adrenaline that had been keeping me upright was fading fast, leaving behind bone-deep exhaustion that made my legs feel like they were made of wet sand. Doyen crossed the room in 3 long strides and caught my elbow when I swayed. Sit, before you fall. I don't fall, I said, even as I let him guide me toward the chair. The moment I sat down, my body basically melted into the cushions. Okay, maybe I fall a little. Stubborn, Seojin observed, crouching down in front of me. Up close, his eyes were even more unsettling, golden and bright and way too knowing. That's going to make this interesting. This is already interesting, I said. We've passed interesting and gone straight into certifiably insane territory. Minho disappeared through a door I hadn't noticed before and returned with a glass of water and what looked like tea. Drink. Both. I took them because arguing seemed like too much effort. The water was cold and perfect. The tea tasted like honey and something herbal I couldn't identify. What's in this? Nothing that will hurt you, Minho promised. It helps with the disorientation. Old recipe. Old like grandma's kitchen old? Or old like ancient mystical potion old? Yes, all 3 of them said. I groaned. You're doing the unison thing again. Sorry, Doyen said, though he didn't sound particularly sorry. He pulled up another chair and sat across from me, close enough that I could see the details I'd missed before. The scar through his left eyebrow wasn't his only one. There were smaller ones on his hands, thin white lines that suggested a lifetime of fighting. We should talk about what happens next. You mean besides me having a complete mental breakdown? Besides that, I sipped the tea, letting the warmth spread through my chest. Fine. Talk. The lunar gathering is in 6 days, Doyen began. It's when all 7 major pacts come together under the full moon. Disputes get settled, alliances form, challenges are issued. Challenges, I repeated. Like fight challenges? Sometimes. Seojin was still crouched in front of me, close enough that I could smell that rain and steel scent coming off him in waves. But usually it's more political. Someone questions your authority, you prove you deserve to keep it. And you think someone's going to challenge you. We know someone will, Minho corrected quietly. The question is who? Something in his tone made me pause. You have suspects. 3, Doyen said. All high-ranking pack leaders. All with motives. What kind of motives? Doyen's jaw tightened. The kind that involve power, territory, and revenge. 3 years ago, the previous generation of kings was murdered. Coordinated attack, same night, every king dead before dawn. The weight of those words hit me like a physical thing. Your father's. Yes. I'm sorry. The words came out automatic, but I meant them. I knew what loss felt like, even if mine had just been a cheating boyfriend and not actual murder. We never found out who did it, Seojin said, and for the first time, his playful mask slipped. Underneath was something raw and angry. Whoever planned it was smart. No evidence, no witnesses, nothing. And you think one of your current suspects was involved? We think it's likely, Minho said, but we can't prove it. And without proof, we can't act. If we start executing people based on suspicion, we're tyrants, and tyrants don't last long. I looked between the three of them, seeing the exhaustion in Doyen's eyes, the tension in Seojun's shoulders, the careful control Minho was maintaining. They weren't just playing at being kings. They were carrying the weight of an entire kingdom on their backs, trying to hold together something that wanted to tear itself apart. "So where do I come in?" I asked. "Besides being pretty set dressing." "You're not set dressing," Doyen said firmly. "You're proof. Proof that the old magic still favors our bloodline. Proof that we're meant to rule. When you stand beside us at the gathering, bonded and claimed, it sends a message." "What message?" "That we're legitimate," Minho said. "That the prophecy was real. That anyone who challenges us is challenging fate itself." "No pressure," I muttered. Seojun grinned. "You're handling this better than expected." "Am I?" I finished the tea and set the cup down with shaking hands. "Because from where I'm sitting, I agreed to play political pawn for 3 men I met 20 minutes ago in order to prevent a civil war in a world I didn't know existed until tonight." "When you put it like that, it sounds bad," Seojun admitted. "It is bad. But you're still here." Doyen leaned forward, his elbows on his knees, and the firelight made his scars stand out in sharp relief. "You could have said no, could have locked yourself in this room and waited out the 3 days, but you didn't." "Yeah, well," I met his eyes, those impossible golden eyes that seemed to see straight through me. "I'm an idiot with a hero complex and terrible survival instincts. Don't read too much into it." "Too late," Minho said softly. The bond pulsed in my chest, warm and insistent, and I felt something from all three of them: gratitude, relief, and underneath it all, something that felt dangerously close to hope. I was so screwed. "I need sleep," I said, standing up even though my legs protested. "Like, immediately. Before I say something else stupid and accidentally agree to marry you all, or something." "We can arrange that," Seojun said brightly. "Not helping," Doyen and Minho said in unison. I laughed despite myself. "You're all insane." "Probably," Doyen agreed. He stood too, towering over me in a way that should have been intimidating, but somehow wasn't. "You can take the bed. We'll sleep elsewhere." "All three of you?" "We have rooms," Minho assured me. "This is yours now. For 3 days." "For 3 days," Doyen echoed. But the way he said it made it sound like a lie we were both pretending to believe. They moved toward the door and sink, and I should have let them go. Should have just collapsed into that massive bed and passed out until my brain could process literally any of this. Instead, I heard myself say, "Wait." All three of them stopped, turned. "What happens if the bond doesn't work?" The question came out quieter than I intended. "What if I stand next to you at this gathering and nothing happens? What if I'm just some random guy who got pulled through a portal by accident?" Duen studied me for a long moment. "It's already working." "How do you know?" "Because I can feel you." He pressed a hand to his chest, right over his heart. "Right here, like a second heartbeat. Can't you feel us?" I wanted to lie, wanted to tell him no, that I felt nothing, that this was all in their heads, but I could feel them. 3 distinct presences humming under my skin, like a song I didn't know the words to yet. It was disorienting and terrifying and somehow comforting. "That doesn't mean it'll be enough," I said. Seojin crossed back to me, moving into my space with zero regard for personal boundaries. "Want to test it?" "Test what?" "The bond." He reached out slowly, giving me time to pull away. "May I?" I should have said no. Every logical brain cell I had left was screaming at me to maintain distance, to not let these strangers touch me. But I nodded. His hand cupped my face, warm and careful, and the world exploded. Light burst from where his skin met mine, silver and gold threading through the air like living things. Heat flooded through me, starting from his touch and spreading through my entire body in waves that made my knees buckle. I felt him in my head, in my chest, in places I didn't have names for. Felt his fierce protectiveness and his reckless energy and his bone-deep loneliness that mirrored my own. "Holy shit," I gasped. Seojin's eyes were glowing now, literally glowing, and his grin was pure triumph. "Yeah, that," Minho was suddenly there, steadying me with a hand on my lower back. The moment he touched me, the light intensified, adding threads of deep blue to the silver and gold. His presence in my head was gentler than Seojin's, but no less powerful. I felt his quiet strength, his careful control, his desperate hope that maybe this time things would work out. Easy, he murmured. Breathe through it. Doyen crossed the room in 2 strides, and when his hand joined theirs resting on my shoulder, the light became almost blinding. His presence was the strongest, a steady anchor that held the other two in balance. I felt his determination, his guilt over pulling me into this, his absolute certainty that I belonged here. The bond snapped into place like a puzzle piece I didn't know was missing, and I gasped as power surged through me. Not theirs, mine. Something that had been sleeping under my skin my entire life suddenly woke up, stretching and purring like a cat in sunlight. And then I heard them, not out loud, in my head. He's perfect, Seojin thought, his mental voice full of wonder. He's terrified, Minho countered gently. Give him space. He's ours. Doyen's thought was quiet but absolute. Finally, get out of my head. I jerked back, breaking contact, and the light vanished instantly. I stumbled backward until my legs hit the bed, and I sat down hard. What the hell was that? The bond manifesting, Doyen said, though he looked almost as shaken as I felt. It's stronger than I expected. Stronger? My voice cracked. You were in my head. All of you. I could hear you thinking. And we could hear you, Seojin said. His eyes were still glowing faintly. You were thinking about running, and about how good Doyen smells. Which fair? My face went hot. I was not. You were definitely thinking about how he smells like cedar, Minho said apologetically. And you're right, he does. I hate all of you, I muttered, pressing my hands to my burning face. No, you don't, Seojin said cheerfully. The bond won't let you. The bond can go to hell. But even as I said it, I could feel them. Not their thoughts anymore, thank God, but their presence. 3 steady flames in my chest that I somehow knew would never go out. What was that power? Doyen asked carefully. The one we felt wake up in you. I dropped my hands and stared at him. What are you talking about? When the bond activated, something in you responded. Something old. His eyes were sharp, assessing. What can you do, Minjun? I can make a decent ramen, and I'm pretty good at avoiding my landlord when rent is due, I said. That's about it. Try something for me. Minho moved closer again, but didn't touch me this time. Think about what I'm thinking right now. Just reach for it. That's insane. Try anyway. I sighed, but I did it. Closed my eyes and reached toward that space in my head where I'd felt them before. Minho's presence was easiest to find, calm and steady like deep water. And then I was in his head. He needs to rest. He's running on fumes. Should we force him to sleep? No, that would scare him. Maybe if we just... I gasped and pulled back. You're thinking about how to make me sleep without scaring me. Minho's eyes widened. Telepathy. What? You're telepathic, Doyen said, and something that looked like awe crossed his face. The prophecy said our mate would have a gift. We just didn't know what. I'm not telepathic. But even as I said it, I could feel the truth. That strange awareness I'd always had. The way I could sometimes tell what people were feeling before they said it. The dreams that felt too real. It wasn't just intuition. It was actual, literal mind reading. Oh God, I said faintly. I'm a freak. You're extraordinary, Seojin corrected. He dropped to his knees in front of me, his expression serious for once. Do you understand what this means? An Omega who can read minds? You're not just our mate, you're a weapon. I'm a person, I snapped. A person who can hear our enemies' plans before they make them, Doyen said. A person who can root out the traitor in our court. A person who might actually be able to keep us all alive. The weight of what they were saying settled over me like a blanket made of lead. I don't want to be a weapon, I whispered. Then be our mate instead, Minho said softly, and let us protect you while you figure out what you want to be. The bond pulsed warm in my chest, and for the first time since I'd woken up in this impossible place, I let myself believe that maybe I didn't have to figure it out alone. Okay, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. Let's say I believe all of this. The bond, the telepathy, the whole destined mate situation. What happens next? Because I can't just show up to your lunar gathering in sweatpants. Seojun's mouth twitched. I mean, you could. It would certainly make an impression. Not the impression we need, Doyen said dryly. He moved toward a large wooden wardrobe I hadn't noticed before and pulled it open. Inside were clothes that looked like they'd been waiting for me. Traditional Korean pieces mixed with modern cuts, all in deep colors that somehow felt right. We had these prepared, just in case. In case your prophecy actually worked and you pulled some random guy out of his timeline? Something like that. I should have been creeped out by the premeditation. Instead, I was weirdly touched that they'd bothered. When do I have to face the court? Now, Minho said quietly. My head whipped toward him. Now? As in right now? They're already gathering, Doyen explained, his expression apologetic. The moment you crossed over, every pack in the city felt it. The old magic doesn't exactly announce itself quietly. They'll want to see you, verify that you're real. Fantastic. I stood up too fast and swayed. Seojun caught my elbow, steadying me. And if they decide I'm not real? If they think you're lying? Then we show them the bond, Doyen said. The way we just did. The light, the connection. It's undeniable. Right, because forcing me to glow in front of a room full of strangers sounds like a great time. You don't have to do anything, Minho assured me. Just stand with us. We'll handle the rest. I looked between the three of them, these impossible men who dragged me into their world and were now asking me to face their court with zero preparation. Every logical part of my brain was screaming at me to refuse, to demand more time, to lock myself in this room until the portal opened. But the bond was humming in my chest, warm and insistent, and I could feel their anxiety bleeding through. They needed this, needed me. Fine, I said, but if anyone tries to kill me, I'm haunting all three of you. Seojun grinned. Deal. The throne room was even more intimidating than I'd imagined. Stone walls rose up into shadows lit by what had to be hundreds of candles. Tapestries hung between massive pillars, depicting battles and ceremonies and things I didn't have time to process. And filling the space between were people. Dozens of them, maybe more, all dressed in clothes that mixed traditional and modern, in ways that shouldn't have worked but did. Every single one of them turned to stare when we entered. I was wearing the clothes Doyen had given me. Dark pants that fit perfectly, a deep blue shirt that felt like silk, and a jacket with subtle embroidery that caught the candlelight. I looked the part at least, felt like an imposter, but looked the part. Doyen walked on my right, Seojun on my left, Minho just behind. A united front, presenting me to their court like I was something precious instead of a confused art school dropout who'd been doom-scrolling 20 minutes ago. Time. However, time worked here. The three of them led me to a raised platform where three thrones sat, carved from dark wood and inlaid with silver that seemed to glow in the candlelight. Doyen gestured for me to stand between them, in a space that looked like it had been left deliberately empty. My lords and ladies, Doyen's voice rang out across the hall, commanding instant silence. 3 years ago, we received a prophecy, a promise that our mate would come when the time was right, that he would cross from his world into ours and stand beside us as our bond was meant to. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I caught fragments of thoughts, my new telepathy apparently having zero concept of privacy or boundaries. He's too young. He's human. This has to be a trick. Tonight, Sujun continued, his voice lighter than Doyen's, but no less powerful. The prophecy was fulfilled. Minjun crossed the void and found us, exactly as foretold. How convenient, a voice called from the crowd. A man stepped forward, tall and broad with silver streaking through his dark hair. His eyes were cold, calculating. That your mate appears just days before the lunar gathering, when your legitimacy is most in question. Elder Kim, Minho said, his voice carefully neutral. Are you suggesting we fabricated this? I'm suggesting, Kim said, climbing the steps to the platform, that proving the bond's authenticity would be appropriate before we accept this stranger as our future Luna. The temperature in the room dropped. I felt Doyen tense beside me, felt Seojun's fingers twitch toward the knife at his belt, felt Minho's carefully controlled anger through the bond. You want proof, Doyen said quietly. I think we all do. Kim's smile didn't reach his eyes. Surely if the bond is real, you won't mind demonstrating it. This was a test, maybe even a trap. I could feel it in the way the crowd leaned forward, eager and hungry for whatever came next. I should have been scared. Should have let Doyen handle this. Let the three of them prove the bond without my involvement. Instead, I stepped forward. You want proof? I met Kim's eyes and something reckless and angry surged up in my chest. Fine. Let's give them proof. I reached for Doyen's hand. The moment our skin touched, light exploded through the room. Silver and gold threading through the air like living things, so bright that people gasped and covered their eyes. I felt the bond snap wider, felt Seojun and Minho's presence join ours without even touching them, felt power surge through all four of us like a circuit completing. And then I heard it. Kim's thoughts, loud and clear and absolutely damning. This complicates things. If the bond is real, the plan won't work. Unless, my eyes snapped to his, and I knew he saw the recognition in my face, saw that I'd heard him. His expression shifted from skeptical to predatory in an instant. Well, he said softly, dangerously, that is interesting. The light faded, but the damage was done. I just revealed my ability to the one person in this room who absolutely could not know about it. Because Elder Kim wasn't just skeptical, he was the traitor. Wait. To know what happens when Minjun's secret gets out? Hit subscribe and don't miss the next part. Trust me, you'll want to see how he handles this mess. Now back to the drama. Kim's eyes narrowed and I felt his mind shift, thoughts crystallizing into something sharp and calculating. I tried to pull back from the mental connection, but it was too late. He knew I'd heard him. Fascinating, he said, his voice carrying across the silent throne room. Tell me, young Omega, what else can you do? Back off. Doyen's hand tightened on mine, and I felt his protective instinct flare through the bond. You asked for proof. We gave it. The bond is real. Oh, I don't doubt the bond. Kim's smile was all teeth. I doubt whether this boy understands what he's gotten himself into. Careful. Seojin's voice dropped to something dangerous. That's our mate you're talking about. Is he? Another voice joined the conversation, smooth and cold. A man stepped out of the crowd, younger than Kim, but no less intimidating. He was beautiful in that carved, frumous way, with sharp cheekbones and eyes like black glass. Because from where I'm standing, he looks terrified. I was terrified, but I'd be damned if I let them see it. I look fabulous, actually, I said, lifting my chin. This jacket really brings out my eyes. Thanks for noticing. Surprised laughter rippled through the crowd. The ice-beautiful man's expression flickered, something almost like amusement crossing his face before it smoothed back into neutrality. I'm Han Jiwoo, he said, climbing the steps to stand beside Kim, Alpha of the Western Pack, and I have concerns about this bond. Of course you do, Minho said quietly. You've been trying to claim Luna rights for 2 years. My brain stuttered. Wait, what? Jiwoo's eyes fixed on me, dark and intense. The prophecy didn't specify a stranger, would be their mate. Many of us assumed it would be someone from within the packs, someone who understood our ways, our laws, our traditions. Someone like you, I said flatly. Yes. No shame, no hesitation. I've been courting all 3 kings since they took the throne, building alliances, proving my worth, and now you appear out of nowhere and claim what I've spent years working toward. The jealousy in his mental voice was sharp enough to cut. I heard his thoughts clearly now, my telepathy apparently deciding personal boundaries were optional. He's nothing. Human, weak, completely unprepared. How could the prophecy choose him over me? Because prophecies don't care about your resume, I said before I could stop myself. Jiwoo's eyes widened. What? Shit, I'd responded to his thoughts out loud. Nothing, I said quickly, but Doyen's hand tensed in mine. He'd felt my panic through the bond. Kim's smile grew. Can you read minds, little Omega? Is that your gift? The throne room went silent, every eye fixed on me, waiting. I could lie, should lie, but my mouth was apparently done cooperating with my brain. So what if I can? I met Kim's gaze. Afraid of what I might hear? Not at all. But his thoughts screamed the opposite. The boy's more dangerous than anticipated. Need to move the timeline up. Tonight, perhaps, before he learns too much. My blood went cold. Tonight. He was planning something for tonight. I reached out mentally toward Doyen, hoping the bond worked both ways. Kim. He's the traitor. He's planning something tonight. Doyen's expression didn't change, but I felt his acknowledgement through the bond. Felt him reaching out to Seojun and Minho, sharing what I'd told him. The bond is real, Doyen announced, his voice carrying across the hall. The prophecy is fulfilled. Minjun is our mate, our Luna, and anyone who challenges that challenges us. Directly. I'm not challenging, Jiwoo said, but his voice had gone sharp. I'm simply questioning whether someone so unprepared can handle the responsibilities that come with being Luna to three kings. Try me, I said. Jiwoo's eyes flashed. Very well. Traditional law states that any pack member can challenge a Luna's claim if they believe themselves more worthy. I invoke that right. Murmurs exploded through the crowd. I felt Seojin's fury spike through the bond. Felt Minho's careful calculation. Felt Doyen's grim acceptance. You want to challenge me? I asked. To what, a fight? Because I'll be honest, I've never thrown a punch in my life. Not a fight. Jiwoo's smile was cold. A test of worthiness. 3 trials, traditional format. If you pass all 3, I'll accept your claim. If you fail even one, you step aside and let someone qualified take your place. This is ridiculous, Seojin snapped. He just arrived. You can't expect him to. I accept, I said. 3 heads whipped toward me. I felt shock cascade through the bond from all 3 of my mates. What are you doing? Doyen's mental voice was sharp with concern. Buying us time, I thought back. If Kim's planning something tonight, we need a distraction. This gives us one. Tomorrow, I continued, looking at Jiwoo. I'll take your trials tomorrow. That gives me time to, figure out what the hell I'm doing. Tonight, Jiwoo countered. The trials begin at midnight. Unless you're afraid? I'm terrified, I said honestly. But I'm also stubborn and apparently bad at survival instincts. So sure. Midnight. Bring your trials. Jiwoo's expression flickered between surprise and something that might have been respect. Very well. At midnight, in the old courtyard. Don't be late, little Omega. He turned and descended the steps, Kim following with a smile that made my skin crawl. The moment they were gone, the crowd erupted into whispers. I felt dozens of mental voices pressing against my shields, thoughts bleeding through in fragments. Brave or stupid, he won't last one trial. Did you see how Jiwoo looked at him? This is going to be a disaster. We need to talk, Doyen said quietly, his hand still gripped tight in mine. Now. Agreed, Minho said. Seojin just looked at me like I'd grown a second head. You realize you just agreed to face trials designed for trained pack members, right? Trials that could literally kill you? I'm aware, I said, but we have bigger problems than Jiwoo's hurt feelings. Kim, Doyen said. Kim, I confirmed. He's planning something, and we have until midnight to figure out what. Doyen dismissed the court with a gesture that left no room for argument. The crowd filed out slowly, still whispering, still staring at me like I was either incredibly brave or catastrophically stupid. Probably both. The moment the throne room emptied, Seojin rounded on me. What were you thinking? You can't fight Jiwoo. He's been training since he could walk. I wasn't planning to fight him, I said. I was planning to buy us time to deal with Kim before he does whatever he's planning. Which is what exactly? Minho asked. His voice was calm, but I could feel the tension vibrating through the bond. What did you hear? I closed my eyes, trying to replay Kim's thoughts. He said the plan won't work if the bond is real, that he needs to move the timeline up. Tonight. Tonight, Doyen repeated, his jaw tightening. Did he think anything else? Any details about what he's planning? I reached for the memory, but it was already fading, slippery as water. No, just that it's happening tonight and that I'm more dangerous than he expected. Because you can read minds, Seojin said, which you just announced to the entire court. I didn't announce it. Kim guessed and I confirmed. There's a difference. Not really, Minho said gently. Now everyone knows, including Jiwoo. Speaking of Jiwoo, I turned to Doyen. You want to explain why your ex-boyfriend just challenged me to trials that could kill me? Doyen's expression flickered. He's not my ex-boyfriend. He's been courting you for 2 years. That's basically the same thing. He's been courting the throne, Doyen corrected. There's a difference. It was never personal. It looked pretty personal from where I was standing. I crossed my arms. He wants to be your Luna, or mate, or whatever the official title is. He wants power, Seojin said bluntly. Jiwoo's ambitious. Always has been. Marrying all three of us would make him the most powerful Omega in the kingdom. Except he's not an Omega, Minho added. He's a Beta, strong, capable, but not bonded by the prophecy. And now I show up and ruin his carefully laid plans. I laughed, but it came out bitter. No wonder he hates me. He doesn't hate you, Doyen said. He's jealous, and possibly in love with an idea of us that was never real. I felt something twist in my chest. Sympathy, maybe. I knew what it was like to love someone who didn't love you back, to watch them choose someone else. The trials, I said, pushing the feeling aside. What are they? The three of them exchanged glances. Traditionally, Minho began, there are 3 tests: strength, wisdom, and loyalty. They're designed to prove a Luna can protect the pack, lead with intelligence, and remain faithful under pressure. Great. I'm 0 for 3 on all of those. You're smart, Doyen said, and you've already proven your loyalty by accepting the bond, by standing with us. The strength trial is the only real concern. Define strength trial. Combat, Seojin said, usually against a trained opponent. Could be hand-to-hand, could be weapons. Jiwoo will choose. Perfect. So I'm definitely going to die. You're not going to die. Doyen crossed to me, his hands settling on my shoulders. We'll train you. We have hours before midnight. We can teach you enough to survive. Survive isn't exactly a ringing endorsement. It's realistic, Minho said. But there's something else you should know. The way he said it made my stomach drop. What? The trials aren't just about you proving yourself to the court. Minho's expression was careful, controlled. They're about Jiwoo proving himself to us. If he wins, traditional law says we have to consider his claim. Consider, I repeated, not accept. Consider, Doyen confirmed, but the political pressure would be immense. If you fail publicly, it undermines our authority, makes us look weak for choosing you over someone more qualified. So no pressure, I muttered. Seojin stepped closer, close enough that I could smell that rain and steel scent coming off him in waves. You don't have to do this. We can refuse the challenge. Exile Jiwoo for disrespecting our mate, which would make you look like tyrants, I said, and give Kim exactly the ammunition he needs to turn the packs against you. Maybe, Doyen admitted, but keeping you safe matters more. Something warm bloomed in my chest. They meant it. I could feel it through the bond, their fierce protectiveness, their willingness to sacrifice political stability just to keep me from getting hurt. No, I said firmly. I accepted the challenge. I'm seeing it through. Why? Minho asked quietly. You don't owe us anything, Minjun. You could walk away right now and no one would blame you. I'd blame me. Words came out before I could stop them. And besides, someone needs to keep you 3 from getting murdered by your traitorous court. Might as well be me. Seojin laughed, bright and unexpected. He's perfect. Can we keep him forever? Not helping, Doyen said, but his mouth was twitching. A knock echoed through the throne room. All 3 of them tensed, hands moving toward weapons I hadn't noticed they were carrying. Enter, Doyen called. A young man slipped through the door, moving with the same predatory grace they all seemed to have. My kings, there's been an incident at the eastern border. Guards found dead, throats torn out. Ice flooded my veins. Through the bond, I felt shock cascade from all 3 of my mates. When? Doyen's voice had gone cold. Within the last hour. while you were in court, which meant Kim had an alibi. He'd been standing right in front of us when the guards died. It's a distraction, I said. Whatever he's planning, he needed you focused elsewhere. Doyen's eyes met mine. The trials. The trials, I agreed. He's going to make his move during the trials, when everyone's attention is on me and Jiwoo. Then we cancel them, Seojun said. We can't. Minho's voice was grim. If we cancel now, it looks like we're afraid, like we're hiding something. So we're trapped, I said. Not trapped. Doyen's hand found mine again, warm and steady. Prepared. If Kim makes his move during the trials, we'll be ready for him. And if I die during the trials? His grip tightened. You won't. I'll make sure of it. We all will, Seojun added. Minho stepped closer, completing the circle around me. You're not alone in this, Minjun. Whatever happens tonight, we face it together. The bond pulsed warm in my chest, and I realized with sudden, terrifying clarity that I was starting to care about these three impossible men. Not because of prophecy or magic or political necessity, but because they made me feel like I mattered, like I was worth protecting, like maybe, for the first time in my life, I'd found somewhere I actually belonged. Even if that somewhere was absolutely, completely, utterly insane. Midnight came too fast. The old courtyard was packed with every pack member in the city, their eyes gleaming in the torchlight like predators watching prey. I stood in the center of a ritual circle marked with stones, wearing light armor that Minho had helped me into. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. Jiwoo entered from the opposite side, already half-shifted. His eyes glowed amber, claws extending as he moved with lethal grace. First trial, he announced. Strength. Survived 3 minutes against me without your mates interfering. 3 minutes. I could do 3 minutes. Probably. He lunged. I barely dodged, my new telepathy. Screaming warnings a split second before each attack. Left, right, duck, roll. I wasn't fighting back, just surviving, using his thoughts to predict his movements. Too slow. He's barely trying. End this quickly. But I wasn't trying to win. I was listening to the crowd, to their thoughts, searching for Kim's voice in the chaos. And then I found it. The boys distracted. Perfect. Signaled the team. North wall on my mark. My eyes snapped to the north wall just as shadows detached from the darkness. Armed figures moving toward where Doyen, Seojun, and Minho stood watching the trial. North wall, I screamed. Jiwoo's claws caught my shoulder, ripping through armor and skin. Pain exploded white-hot, but I didn't care. It's a trap. Kim's people are at the north wall. Everything happened at once. Doyen spun, his sword already drawn. Seojun moved like water, intercepting attackers before they could reach Minho. And Kim, realizing his plan had failed, shifted fully into his wolf form and lunged straight for me. Jiwoo saw it. For one frozen moment, I watched him choose. Then he threw himself between us, taking the hit meant for me. Kim's jaws closed on Jiwoo's shoulder instead of my throat. They went down in a tangle of fur and blood and snarling rage. I stumbled backward, my telepathy suddenly flooded with voices. Protect the Luna. Kim's the traitor. He killed the old kings. Save Jiwoo. The bond surged through me, power flooding my veins as Doyen, Seojun, and Minho's strength became mine. I reached out with my mind, not to one person but to everyone in the courtyard. Stop. The command echoed through every mind present. Wolves froze mid-attack. The fighting stopped like someone had pressed pause on reality. I'd never used my telepathy like this before. Didn't know I could. But desperation made me powerful, and the bond made me strong. Kim murdered the previous kings, I said, my voice carrying across the silent courtyard. I heard him think it. He's been planning to kill Doyen, Seojun, and Minho tonight and blame it on the trials. Kim shifted back to human, blood on his mouth. The boy's lying. He's using his abilities to manipulate you all. Am I? I looked at the crowd. Anyone here want to challenge that? Because I can prove it. I can show you what I heard. I reached out again, gentler this time, and projected Kim's thoughts into every mind present. His plan, his guilt, his contempt for the three kings he'd pretended to serve. The crowd's rage hit like a physical wave. Kim tried to run. He didn't make it 5 steps before pack members dragged him down. I released my mental hold and immediately collapsed. Seojun caught me before I hit the ground, his arms steady and warm. "That was insane," he said, but he was grinning. "Also incredibly hot. Just saying." "Seojun," Minho sighed, but he was smiling too. Doyen dropped to his knees. Beside us, his hand cupping my face. "You saved us. All of us. I had help." I looked past him to where Jiwoo was being tended to by healers. "Is he okay?" "He will be." Doyen's thumb brushed my cheekbone. "He chose you over his ambition. That's worth something." Jiwoo's voice drifted across the courtyard. Weak but clear. "I concede. The trials are over. Minjun is your true mate. Even I can see that now." Relief flooded through me so fast I felt dizzy. "So that's it?" I asked. "We won?" "We won," Minho confirmed. The crowd erupted in howls of approval. Not mockery or challenge, but acceptance. They'd seen me use my gift to protect their kings. Seen me risk everything for 3 men I'd known less than a day. Seen the bond prove itself in the most violent, chaotic, absolutely insane way possible. "There's still one thing," Doyen said quietly. "What?" "The portal opens in 2 hours. You still have a choice, Minjun. You can go home." My heart clenched. Home. To my shoebox apartment, and my dead-end job, and my ex-boyfriend's wedding photos. To a life where I was invisible and alone, and slowly dying inside. Or I could stay here, with 3 kings who looked at me like I was precious. In a world where I had power and purpose, and people who actually needed me. It wasn't even a choice. "The portal can close," I said. "I'm staying." Seojin whooped. Minho's smile went soft and warm, and Doyen kissed me, right there in front of the entire court, deep and claiming and absolutely perfect. When we broke apart, I was breathing hard and grinning like an idiot. "So what now?" I asked. "Now," Doyen said, "we rebuild. We strengthen the packs. We root out any remaining traitors. And we figure out how to be kings with a telepathic mate who has zero sense of self-preservation." "Hey," I protested. "He's not wrong," Minho said apologetically. "You literally threw yourself at a trial you couldn't win to create a distraction," Seojin added. "That's textbook zero self-preservation." "I prefer the term strategically reckless." "We prefer the term ours," Doyen said. And looking at the 3 of them, feeling the bond pulse warm and right in my chest, I realized something. I'd spent 23 years feeling like I didn't belong anywhere. Like I was too much and not enough all at once. Like I was broken in ways that couldn't be fixed. But maybe I wasn't broken. Maybe I was just waiting. Waiting to fall through a portal at midnight. Waiting to wake up in 3 Kings' bed. Waiting to find the people who would look at my chaos and call it perfect. The portal closed 2 hours later, and I didn't even look back. I was finally home. And that's Minjun's story. If you love this journey from doom-scrolling heartbreak to Omega royalty with 3 gorgeous alpha kings, smash that subscribe button. I've got tons more supernatural romance waiting for you. More omegaverse, more plot twists, more chaotic omegas finding where they belong. Thanks so much for sticking with me until the end. Your support means everything. Now go subscribe and let's fall into the next adventure together. See you soon.